Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Old Men Talking. Today, I'm here with Bobdub and Old John. John Clark, many aliases, many mysterious pasts,
Yeah.
many rock and roll background history, the rebel. Okay, so
The rebel never
today
flew.
Today is the sixth episode, and we do have a topic that we do want to go over. This kind of blends into some of the previous stuff that we had a discussion with. Karma tippy toed around it in the first two episodes, but actually it was brought up by Bob Dub, which is something that I think we should go into because it kind of continues where we left off on some of our old episodes. Um, and with that being said, I can just go ahead and say what the topic is if I can remember how to say it appropriate. Now, on this episode, we have been, like I said, we've been trying to figure out a good topic concerning what our duties as the older generation is to the younger ones. Um, it was brought up by Bob Dub. I threw a couple of ideas around in chat with Bob Dub, but John wasn't around, so I think with that being said, we need to pass it on to John since he didn't want to do the introduction and let him open up give us his take of what he thinks as the older generation, what our responsibilities is to the younger generation.
Cheers, Roger. Um, for one, I would say respect. I think a lot of the younger generation lack respect these days, and people like ourselves need to teach them it's important because it can affect so many areas in your life. You know, as you know, you both know yourselves. Like I had a tremendous respect for my grandparents and stuff like that, and the old people and stuff that used to be around me, and I'd help them if they needed help across the road, help at the shop, and I'd help them. Nowadays, you have somebody struggling in the street, you have someone filming it and putting it on TikTok. There's no respect, you know, and it really that sort of upsets me a bit, you know. I don't like to see the way it's gone. So if I had to put like one thing, I would say respect. There's plenty more, but respect is probably a big one. A lot they need to do that. Um, Also, I would say that young people need to listen to their elders more in not you know what's like when you're a teenager. Oh, I don't care what you say, but your mum and dad say something to you. You know, you're a rebel and stuff like that. I mean, listen to them because of the experience they've had. You know, they've probably done what you're gonna come across the next 10 years of your life. Maybe sake of argument, we've been there, we've done that, but yet they don't listen to us because we're the old fogies. Or what do they know? And yet we know so much more than they probably will ever realise. You know, probably forgotten more than they'll ever realise. You know, and um, the generation today, they're all on iPads, on computer games and stuff like that. When I grew up, I was outside from morning till night, and I loved it. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to bring that back, but if I could bring it back, make it mandatory to ban stuff like that till children were older or rainy days or something like that, I would certainly do it because it needs to be done. Young people need to find nature. They need to learn, they need to be out in it and appreciate it for what it is instead of um, stuck in their own little bubbles, worlds, and becoming antisocial, which is what this generation of teenagers and stuff are becoming. So that's my take on it. Brief take on it.
Well, I tried to do that too, and Bob called me out on it yesterday. So I'm gonna have to do the same with you. Now that you've covered teenagers, what about the ones that are in their 30s?
Uh,
That
Well, it's
was a
pretty much
tough
the
one.
same thing. They're like they're still they're like mature teenagers, men in their 30s these days. Um, and I know because I've been there, been one myself. You know, so it's not like I don't know, but they are. And then they realize you see a lot. Then when they start to get into their 40s, you get these midlife crisis with a lot of people, and it's because they're realizing they're sort of getting they're not teenagers anymore. They're not youngsters anymore. They're growing old, and then they react certain ways, as we've discussed in the past. They some go chasing younger girls and leave their wives, and some go and buy a Ferrari, and or if they can afford to, and or, stuff like that. Just to try and make them feel younger again. And yeah, so that's why they say about 30. I was told. I remember it now. I was in the pub when I was 30, and a guy, a friend of mine, has passed away now. Bought me a drink, and he said, "It's a change your life." He said, "30 is a good change," and it was a good time for me. My 30s. I got to be honest. But yeah, I do think they're like mature teenagers, 30-year-olds, 20 or 30-year-olds. 20-year-olds, definitely. 30-year-olds, maybe sometimes you could talk to them a little bit, but they still like feel like they know it all. And where they don't. So that's my take on it.
There you go. See, that's I was basically joking around on chat, and I was saying that like butt whoopings. You know what I mean? I like give them butt whoopings, but like when they get into the 30s, they're just a little bit too old to give a butt
Yeah,
whooping to. So.
yeah. Whoopings are about twice the size of you. No, that's not a good idea.
Okay, what's your take on it, Bob Dub?
I have been wondering, you know, I agree about the respect, John. I totally agree. And I wonder to myself why they disrespect us so much. And I mean, Roger, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, you made the comment that our generation hasn't done very well, that we're responsible for a whole lot of things that haven't helped. And for me, kind of thinking about this subject and thinking about tonight, my idea was sort of like, what do we deserve the anger and aggression that is directed at us? And if we do, if we should be blamed, like the amount of things that we should be blamed for, how do we respond to that? How do we rise above? Because my parents are sort of 86, 87. They're getting to the age where they're going to leave, and we're going to be the older generation, the oldest generation. And that's quite a big responsibility in society, to be the sort of the moral leaders. And so I would love to give a legacy to the youngsters, the 30s and 40s. I would love for them to be able to respect us, for us not to say, come on, guys, you've got to respect us, for them to say to us, wow, you're doing well, we respect you. And I just wonder what we would have to do, our generation would have to do, to earn their respect. Because at the moment, I think we have their contempt. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what I feel our role should be, but I am very concerned at the level of disrespect and anger that is being directed at our generations, but particularly as I say that we're about to sort of level up and become the elders. So yeah.
I when I was talking about that, I what I think is like with Gen X, uh, that's what they refer to us as Generation X. Like there's a balance there, I think. You know what I mean? And like the anger that you're talking about that these younger ones have, or the contempt, that's on their plate. You know what I mean? That really has nothing to do with us. Like if there's because like when it comes to what we did, that's a something that our generation personally has to take responsibility for. You know what I mean? That's our shit basically. That's not theirs. Now, yeah, granted, there's things that we could have done better with these kids. Don't get me wrong, but still, when it comes to today and right now and what we're doing at this moment, we all have to take responsibility for our own stuff. It doesn't matter what happened 10 years ago. It matters what's happening right now. You know what I mean? So for today, I've got to take responsibility for my own actions, not yesterday or a week ago or a year ago, but for today. And that's what I'm saying about the balancing line too, because like there we had a lot of contempt towards our parents. Most of us did. You know, a lot of them call them the boomers, and I in a way I don't really like hearing that term, even though baby boomer has been around even before this new generation. But the way it's being termed is really kind of disturbing when you hear people say that, you know, because it's not really said in a nice way. It's usually in a conversation where people are getting frustrated with boomers on chat or some crap like that, you know. But for or our generation, I think when it comes to looking back and paying attention to what it was our parents was trying to tell us, maybe we need to look at it from a different point of view now. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff they actually were trying to tell us wasn't wrong. I was just personally too upset and too pissed off and always frustrated with them to freaking listen to what they had to say. You know, it was always about me and being stubborn headed and fighting against them, you know, and maybe taking a look and listening to what they had to say was something that I should have done a long time ago, but just I wasn't ready. So now that I'm older, maybe I can look back and say, hey, you know, maybe that was a good idea. And I think that's the best way for me when it comes to, you know, rethinking things and stuff like that. But on the other hand, there's a lot of things I didn't agree with, which really I don't think should be passed on to the next generation. So right there, there's a balance. I've got to
Mm.
make sure that I don't, you know, pass on the negative stuff. You know what I mean? Because boomers, they had a pretty crazy, rough life of their own, and they kind of passed it on to us like we did with our children. You know, and it's just something that naturally happens. But with the one thing that I was talking about yesterday, I think with the younger ones, I think it kind of goes along even with the thirties and stuff like that too. It's like trying to tell them something is basically like hitting yourself in the head with a hammer, you know. So and trying to tell them because they're bullheaded, they're stubborn, they don't. You tell them to do one thing, they're going to turn around and do something else, and that's the way we were, you know. It's just the way they are, and I guess for me the best way to do it is just lead by example, you know, and because there's some things that you can teach the younger generation without having to kind of be forceful about it. Like the one thing I find disturbing with the younger ones that I think is important, but it's not spiritual or anything like that. It's just everyday things like freaking their spending habits, you know. And that was something that our parents tried to teach us. The ones that had parents who actually did try it, you know, like don't be so eager to go out there and spend your money because you've got it in your pocket and it's burning a hole in it, you know. learn how to set a budget. If you can't afford something, don't be paying for it. I've been having conversations with Mark Edworthy on bad business practices and stuff, and these younger people have absolutely no clue how business is supposed to be run. Like when you spend $50, you're supposed to expect $150 back. That's without saying, you know what I mean? Like don't be getting on YouTube and freaking like posting your videos and promoting it with freaking $200 and you're only getting freaking maybe $100 back. You just lost $100. I mean, stuff like that. And people do that stuff all the time, like especially these younger ones. And I use the YouTube as an example because that's what a lot of the younger people do. And then they wonder why they aren't getting all the views and stuff like that, and they're not making money off of it. Well, look at what you're doing, man. Why don't you just post a video, see how good it is, before you start freaking, putting freaking hundreds of bucks on one video, stuff like that. That's bad practices. Somebody should have taught them this is how you spend your money. You know, so that's
Isn't
one.
isn't that somebody us, Roger?
Yeah,
Shouldn't we have been the ones?
exactly,
But
exactly.
somehow we haven't, like, we can look at them and we can look at what they're not doing, but who was meant to teach them to do things differently? Was it us? And how did we fail?
I don't think it's so much always we fail. It's just that they don't listen. You know, like talking to a brick wall. I've experienced that with my kids in some respects. Like buying like skins for online games and stuff like that. And I just said to them that, what are you doing? Why are you wasting money on stuff like this? And they said, well, I enjoy the game. Well, okay, fair enough, they do, but you better say. I've tried to tell them to save their money and stuff like that, and no, they won't have it. And it's like talking to deaf ears. They just don't want to know. But my question is out there is why these you see a lot of these teenagers especially and people in their 20s 30s are so angry towards the old folk. Why? That's what I want to know, is why they're like that. I know, as Roger said, some of the stuff the older generation did it's got to be left to the older generation. Like my father used to, because I was left-handed, used to hit my hand with a stick to try and make me use my right hand. And I know that was done in the Catholic churches as well, the convent schools. They did that as well to a friend of mine, exactly the same thing. And that was like the 60s, early 70s. And of course, hopefully that's long gone now. But I don't know if it still goes on in these places. I have no idea. But stuff like that, yeah, we'll leave all that behind. We don't want that. Um, but yeah, so I don't know what to say. But where's the anger coming from? That's what I want to know. Why are they angry towards their parents? Why are they angry towards their grandparents? Why are they angry? And that's what I think about, is why. Because I'm got my own son, my eldest son. We haven't spoken 4 years. And for different reasons, fell out over something trivial. And then, for whatever reason, doesn't want. I tried putting olive branch out loads of times, doesn't want to know. So I just leave him to it. No, I don't try anymore. I just don't, he doesn't want to be in my life, doesn't want to be in my life. So that's the way I have to live at the moment, and that's the way it is. But again, he's angry about something, but what's he angry about? So that's what I like to. That's what I think about, and that's what. But I don't know the answer. But that's what I sometimes question about, and what is it? Why are they angry? What have we done to make them angry towards us? If we've been bad parents, yes, I totally understand that. But if we've been generally good parents, why would they be angry towards us? So that's my take on it. So
Yeah, I sympathize with that. I also have children that won't talk to me, and my opinion is, yes, look, I know that I've made mistakes, but I haven't been terrible. I
no,
didn't lock my kids in the basement and feed them bread and water.
no, no.
Everybody's made mistakes.
Yeah.
What is it about this generation that refuses to overcome these issues? Because, like you've pointed out, we had issues with our parents and we were angry with them, but
Yeah.
like by and large, we sort of forgave them and moved on. And boycotting people and ostracizing people wasn't really an option. You just suck it up and get on with it and
Yeah.
respect your parents and do yes sir, no sir. But not anymore. That's not an option for them. So it's hard because how do you better yourself? How do you rise above? How do you become a better parent in your old age
Mm.
when you don't have the relationship at all? That's
I remember my, so on a positive note now, remember my grandmother, my mum and dad split up when I was 3, and I went to live with my grandparents, the best part of the time of my life when I was really young. I remember my gran, before infant school, sat me down, all the numbers are there, times tables, alphabet, all in a big card. She wrote them all out herself and taught them to me every day. The time I went to school, I knew it all. I knew all my times, I knew it all, just from my gran, and I've always been great with numbers ever since. I'm absolutely brilliant. Somebody asks me a maths question, bang, I'll sort it out in seconds. And I put that down to my gran, and I'm ever grateful for her to doing it. Now, if I might have learnt this stuff in school, maybe, but I maybe I would never have done it like as quick or been as well as the way she taught me. And so, because I was done that, I try to do that with my son with stuff, and he is amazing with numbers as well. So but I didn't do it with my other children so much because it was a different environment. We had 3 kids close together. It was very difficult because there was always a baby to look after amongst the toddlers. So it was really difficult. So I didn't have the time to do that, So maybe then I was a worse parent because I couldn't do it. I don't know. But with my younger son now, I make every effort to try to help him with stuff like that. I need to do more, yes, but I do try my best, with him. Because I say, there's no manual out there for parents, is there? There's no like, you come to a certain age, yeah, here's the book. If you read this now, this tells you how to become a parent. Because it's not out there. You've got to learn it yourself. And most of us turn out to be good parents. None of us are perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect, and we're not meant to be. But we do our best. And when our kids grow up and they become parents themselves, they realise just how difficult it is to do the job themselves. And then I think, oh, okay, maybe my mum, maybe my dad wasn't so bad because I've had to actually do it myself now. Now I know how hard it is, you know. So that's all I can hope for is. But my other children, older children, I get on fine with them. I've always had a good relationship, never really fallen out. Never fallen out, in fact. But just my eldest one. So he was a spoiled brat, to be honest, as a kid, and I think it's just come out in his adulthood as well. You know what I mean? Different reasons, but not just by us, by his gran and all. Would like take him out places and wouldn't take my younger two, out. She wouldn't take them out, just him. Stuff like that. So just, I think it's down to that. But there we go. I don't really. It bothers me a little bit. Of course it does. I wouldn't be humour if it didn't. But to be honest, it's not a big part of my life now. I don't worry about it. If he wants to be in my life, good. If he doesn't, if he came to me tomorrow and said and make amends and move on, I so totally fine. Yeah, I wouldn't say, oh no way, I'm not talking to you now. I'm not like that. But I'm not going to go chasing him anymore to say, leave. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'll go use my energy elsewhere. So that's me.
It's the weird part about that. Like, I'm sitting there listening to you, and like, I know like what you're talking about, but I also know like the stuff I say in my head and what actually happens is two separate things. Like,
Yeah,
I'll sit and say that same stuff you just said, but the moment my son comes around and starts, all of a sudden I'm trying to, be cool and stay away from him, and not because me and him's arguing right now too, and like I'll try to, just whatever, try to do that stubborn shit, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm wanting to freaking be around and kind of walk to the refrigerator when he's standing in the kitchen and stuff. You know what I mean? I do stupid shit like that all the time I'm supposed to be, yeah, whatever, man, but there's something that just drives you nuts with the one kid that doesn't want nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? It just drives you nuts. And
Yeah.
there, I'm just being honest about it. You know what I mean? It does. Like you could have freaking 10 kids, man, and that one kid that doesn't want nothing to do with you is the one that will drive you nuts, and it just sticks to your craw. So
Yeah.
that's the thing with me. Me and my oldest boy, he's in his 30s, and he moved up here, and he had issues when it came to computers and with video games and stuff like that. Like I've told you guys already, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, but this kid, he was addicted to video games and 24/7. If he wasn't at work, he was on that computer playing a video game. And I've had the conversation with John too, but I'm not gonna like get into a big old spill about it. But it got to the point where if something got in the way of him playing a video game, he would freaking get frustrated, and irritated. And like in what I've been seeing, you guys use the term anger. Why are they angry at us? I don't think it's anger. I think that they just don't care. You know what I mean? Yeah, I really don't think that they freaking care whatsoever. Like, and they don't understand the concept of respecting your elders because they've never had to respect their elders. You know what I mean? All they've had to do was sit in front of their internet babysitter and have all that stuff taken care of. You know what I mean? All they have to do is play video games so that they'll be quiet and not make any noises and be a problem. And that's just my take of it. And when John said spoiled brat, my son, he was the only child. I have two sons, but from two separate women, and they're both. Yeah, well, no, my youngest has an older brother, Billy, and I can see the difference between them because my oldest, he's just that's what he is. He's an overgrown brat. He had you know this life where it was just him, and he didn't have to worry about dealing with other people within the family and stuff like that, other siblings. Whereas the younger one had a brother, and I can see where the bond is between him and his older brother Billy. So um, I think for me personally that's an issue too. Like if they have one or two siblings or none at all, but that's where it comes in with him. That's how he's a spoiled brat. Like he's never had to deal with anybody. Like when you have brothers and sisters, you got to share. You know, so I'm gonna I'm gonna stop there.
Well, I had four kids, and so they all had to share. They had to get on with each other, and I also had two relationships, but I had two kids from two relationships, um, and yet they still have those same traits. They expect things from life that, for me, it's very strange. It's a different way of thinking. You've said before, Roger, you've talked before about sort of taking personal responsibility and not blaming other things. Do what you have to do for yourself right now. It's interesting to me that we have come to this conclusion, but they haven't. And I'm wondering if it is because we've come to the conclusion later in life that we have to do it for ourselves, that we have to sort of like back up. That we haven't given a strong enough example when they were younger. I mean, because yes, they did have the internet and they did sort of just bring themselves up differently, but we were the parents. So we have like ultimately who takes responsibility for how the kids were brought up? It's got to be us.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And I give kudos to any parents who puts their kids on a budget when it comes to computers. You know, that if they can only freaking be on a computer for maybe 2 hours, or not even 2 hours, an hour a day, I'm fine with it. You know, because I do see it being a serious problem in video games in particular. You know, these kids are just too obsessed with it and they don't care about anything whatsoever when it comes to all the other stuff. They'd rather stay in their house, play video games, and if they have to go outside, it's just an inconvenience. They don't like doing that. I've got a nephew that spent his entire high school uh, years in his bedroom playing freaking video games. Okay, and nobody ever got to spend time with him, do anything with him. I don't know what he did his entire high school years after. They call it middle school here, but it's between sixth and eighth grade. I remember when he went into sixth grade, and that was it. That's the last of it. From that point on, it was him on video games. Okay. And that's all he ever did. When he finally got out of school, he got a job, and it went from going to work to getting on video games. So that's what he does now in his 20s, you know? And it is a problem. And I just, yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna I'm gonna go see what is going on. My mom ended up calling for me, so I'll be right back.
Okay. You know, with my oldest child, I was really strict. Well, my oldest son, I was really strict with his time on the computer because it was the time. Do you remember, John, back in the day when those young Japanese teenagers, there was all those suicides of the Japanese and Chinese gamers?
Yeah, rings a bell
And
now.
so
Yeah,
my son was sort of just having his first computer around about those times. So I gave him a half an hour every day was his gaming time. And I didn't know what computer games were, and I didn't know how pitiful a half an hour was. And so he sort of grew up and became a teenager and said, Mom, you were so cruel and so restrictive, and how can you get anything played in a game in half an hour? And he introduced me to games. And so with my second son later on, I was much more lenient.
yeah,
And yet, both of them are obsessed with computer games and spend their entire free time on the computer and playing the game. And if they're not on the computer playing the game, then they're researching it and reading up and watching videos about it. And
yeah,
so I had two different strategies, and yet the same result.
yeah. Um, I just think in that case they were just meant to do it anyway, so it didn't matter that you tried.
Yeah.
I think it was important that you tried. It's the same with my boys. They're all that's all they do is computer games all the time, and they're suffering with illnesses they shouldn't have in their 20s. They should have them like 40s or 50s, not in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And even
Mm-hmm.
another my he's what is he to me? His nephew. He's 19, I think now, and he spends all his time. He lives on a farm, beautiful all around him, all around him. Spent all day locked in his room. Last year, he's suffering with hemorrhoids at 19. You
Oh
should
dear.
not have that at that age. You know, it's something that's old folk get later on or something. Not a 19-year-old. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
was stunned when I heard that. I was so stunned. I was just like, oh, what the hell? But then
It
again,
is.
his parents should be getting him out. Shouldn't be letting him. They get an easy
Yeah.
life. He's in his room. They don't have to worry about him. You know,
But the
they get an
thing
easy
is that,
life.
like,
So
yeah,
but I also don't like. I've been shown this a lot recently
yeah,
with children I've been helping and stuff, which healing and stuff, YouTube is a major concern for kids' upbringing these days. I think there needs to be some sort of restriction on it more. I've been seeing the damage that it's been doing, and put it that way, which most people don't see the damage. I've been seeing it, and it's affecting children's connection with their source and stuff. And I'm sorting it out all the time, and I'm 99% of the problem. It all comes down to YouTube with them, because that's what they're doing. They're not playing games; they're watching YouTube, and I see it as a spiritual battle. Put it that way. Then, slightly changing the subject, YouTube is the biggest concern to our children in the next, say, 10, 20 years than anything else out there. Really been shown that a lot. So I just been shown it. I don't know what we can do about it, but I've been seeing. I don't know what we can do about it, but I know that it's the case.
I agree with you. I think you're 100% right.
Because kids are seeing stuff on YouTube, and they think it's real. Even my son is. I try to, restrict it and guide him so he watches like funny stuff, so not the thing that's going to harm him. But even he came to me the other day. He said, "What's this demon that comes out at Christmas time?" I can't remember the name of it now. It begins with a K. I can't name it now. It just came out.
Krampus.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And
Krampus,
I said,
Krampus.
Yeah. And I said, yes. I said, it's a legend to say it's not real. But are you sure? And he was like terrified. He wouldn't have the light. All because he saw some video about it on YouTube. And that's just one incident. He has a phobia of buttons. Again, he got it from watching one video on YouTube, and he won't eat in front of anything with buttons on for the last 4 years because of lockdown. He saw it in lockdown, and that's affected him. So that's just him. How many millions of kids out there have got other different issues because of YouTube out there? And I know I've helped loads, and every time I get told YouTube is the issue that's caused this, and I try to tell the parents when I can. But as you say, it's easy life. They're watching a tablet. You don't have to worry about them. You can get on with what you're doing. You don't have to worry, but you pay for it later on. You get easy life today. You hard life tomorrow. So there we go.
and see, in our generation, it was cartoons. Like how many times did we do the same thing with freaking our kids too, though? Like, because they were coming out with the VCR and the CD player, and all you had to do was sit your kid down and let them watch, cartoons. So I remember my nephew, let me count. Okay. It was my oldest nephew. He was pretty much the last of the cartoon generation. Like, they still watch Cartoon Network and stuff like that. But, like, with him, he was, like, the real cartoon ones. And when he was 5 years old, and I usually don't say this, but, and I'm not going to state his name, but, like, when he was 5 years old, he actually got up, went to the corner door on the bathroom and peed down the door because he wanted to stay watching that cartoon rather than go all the way in the toilet and use the toilet at 5 years old. And I've seen that happen again later on. It was it wasn't just him. I've seen it with somebody else's kid that it happened to. They would literally stand at the corner of the bathroom door and pee down the door because they didn't want to leave the television screen and watching the cartoon. And that should have been a warning right there,
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden the internet came along, man, and that just took everybody. Like, I think the moment Facebook particularly was created, that's when it all started. I mean, from that point on, it was, well, I don't know which came first, YouTube or Facebook. I think it was Facebook.
I'm not sure. I went on Facebook in 2010 to keep an eye on my oldest son because he had an account. That's what I went on there for. I would never have gone on it otherwise. I don't know, like I say now, we don't even speak, but that's why I went on there originally. And I really want to leave there, but it's just that it leads to work for me, interviews for me and stuff, so it's really hard to sort of leave it go at the moment. But when I first day that I can, I probably will be leaving it when the time is right. I will be for sure. It's toxic as well. It's not good. It's not saying it's as bad as YouTube, but it's getting there. It's quite close, you know. Not as bad because most kids don't get a Facebook account anyway, so they sort of shielded from it to a certain degree till they're older. Um, Whereas YouTube, well, they're on it from any age, pretty much, aren't they? You know, it's just different.
Mhm.
But
Oh,
Well,
yeah. I think that maybe you put your finger on it when you said maybe it's a spiritual thing, John. Because I mean, like we're talking about all sorts of different kids from different types of environments, different upbringings, and we have all these kids, this whole generation with this sort of resentment and sort of almost as if they hold a grudge.
yeah,
Maybe it is because there sort of isn't church in people's lives anymore. There isn't that regular routine of going every Sunday and getting down on your knees and praying for forgiveness and going out and trying again the next week. And
yeah.
I'm just popped into my head now, like in the Ten Commandments, isn't the fourth commandment or something, or the fifth commandment about honor your father and your mother?
Oh, something like that. Yeah.
Maybe just aren't getting that sort of spiritual nurturing, and they are growing up with these negative attitudes because of that.
Well, in some respects, yes, yeah, church could be important for youngsters. I never went to church when I was young, and it never affected me in that sense. But I think if I had to bring spirituality into this, as I said before, we're all connected to a higher source. When we're young, we most of the time, a lot of us sort of not sever it, but they sort of like bury it, and they just live their lives. And most of the time, they realise that something's missing in their lives, and then you get tales of people like myself who become awakened later on in their life for different ways. But when you're awakened, you're rediscovering your connection to your source. Now, I think these children and these adults are angry because they know they're missing something, but they don't know what they're missing. They know they just don't know what it is, and they look for it gratification through buying the newest iPad, the newest TV, stuff like that, and it makes them feel good for a day or so, and then they realise no, it's still there. It's not the answer, and it goes from there. That's what I would say. Um, but I didn't want to bring this up, but in the last week, as you both know, I'm remote healer. I've healed more people in 1 week than I've ever done in my whole time of my life. In 1 week, I don't know what's going on. Something is going on, and a lot of these are children. All I'm doing is redirecting them to their source, reconnecting them to their source. That's all I'm doing. And every time I'm seeing YouTubers is telling me this is what's caused this. Now I don't know what's going on, but something is going on because it's like this side of me is like it's like speeding up. It's going all around. It's going everywhere. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's. I just don't know what's going on. I even sensed Roger yesterday when it was going on. I felt it like going around the world. I just felt it, this energy. I don't know if it's not left me, but it's like taking off for some reason. It's like finding its own wings, so to speak. And I really don't know what it is as yet. But I just know it's happening, and I don't know have the answers to why it's happening, but I know that it is. But yeah, if I was a better man, I had to put the reason why so many people are angry out there, angry to take their anger maybe at their parents because they're the loved ones. We naturally take our anger on our closest. There's a saying somewhere about that. But and they might have some resentment because we're strict to them. Yes, there's that as well. But I think deep down their anger is because they know that they're missing something. And yes, okay, maybe if they were going to church, they would still keep that connection going a bit longer. Yes, and who knows? And maybe it would help. But that's my take on it. And I'm sorry if I've gone off topic from what we're talking about, but that's what I almost 100% think the problem is with the world generally. Is this? It's just
well, I think you stayed perfect on topic. To be honest, I mean that that was good. And I agree with you. I was never a churchgoer after my parents stopped forcing us to go. That's the
Yeah,
key word. Okay,
forces. Yeah.
you know what I mean. If you want somebody to have a connection to a higher power, stop forcing it on them. First off,
Yeah.
you don't do that to kids. And the bad part about my parents were like they would tell us, yeah, we'll be. You go to Sunday school, we'll be there in church services, and they just never there in church service. They'd always say that to get us into church, which was a good thing.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but if you're going to say that to your children, you need to at least show up for church yourself.
Mm.
So.
Oh, yes.
um, so when it comes to that, I agree with you on that. But there's also other things that you can do too when it comes to what you're talking about. Like for me, if my grandparents needed their yard mowed, there was no discussion about it. It was like I knew that my grandparents needed their yard mowed. I went over and I mowed their yard. Okay.
Mm.
And I didn't expect money for it. If they gave me money, it was okay, but I didn't expect it. I did it for free, you know, um, stuff like that. And for me, it's weird because I am remembering stuff when it comes to my childhood because now I'm in the rare situation where I'm taking care of my parents. Okay. So I'm here with my parents and I feel the angry feelings that I have when I'm taking care of them because everybody has this idea that taking care of the elderly is something that's just great and everything, and it's not. Like Karma was talking with me while my mom was knocking on the door, going Roger, Roger, and and she goes, "Oh, she sounds so cute," and I'm just sitting there freaking thinking, "Oh, you think that's cute?" I put up with that stuff every day, and the whole point is yeah, it's not really a positive emotion, but as well, that's something that happens naturally when you deal with the elderly, and you have to learn that you can't let that come out in a negative way out of your mouth verbally or the way you act. You know what I mean? You got to understand that you're dealing with an older person and you got to learn how to work through it. And I think those are the situations that I've learned because of that. Because not only do I have my parents, but I also have my son. I've got my nephews and my nieces. I got my sisters, my brother. You know what I mean? And they're not the ones that are helping lift her legs up into bed whenever she needs to go to sleep. You know what I mean? It's just like whenever I had to leave the computer just now, my mom had dropped something and it spilled out on the ground, so I had to go out there and pick it up for her. And it's annoying. It really is that you have to do that, but at the same time, I don't want her freaking falling down on her face and hurting herself. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Sure.
Um, and I'm glad that I was there to do it. And it gets frustrating for people like that, like this, in situations like this, because like I want to lash out at my sisters. I want to lash out at them because like they're never here. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
like they don't. I mean, it's not like my parents are just my responsibility. I mean, it's all of us. You know what I mean? We all should be responsible for them, but they're never here. They stop in to help get food for them, go to the grocery store and stuff like that, and that's it.
Mhm.
Um, and then every time I bring it up, it seems to cause chaos,
Mm.
and everybody gets upset and frustrated at me, and I become the bad guy. You know what I mean? Because I told them, look, man, you guys need to come over here and step up, take a little bit of responsibility here. I mean, I'm willing to help them with the day to day stuff. I have no problem with that. But like, grandparents should have a right to see their kids, see their grandkids, you know,
Mm.
and that's not happening.
No,
These
no, sure.
people,
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
and I think that's a shame. And those are things that should be taught to kids. Like, look, you respect your grandparents. yeah, there's a difference between parents and grandparents. Okay, the difference between grandparents and grandparents is it's your parents' jobs to give you butt whoopings. You know, it's your grandparent or it's your parents' responsibility to make sure you learn right from wrong. Your grandparents' responsibility is to love you unconditionally, and that's what they do. There's nothing that they freaking see wrong with you. Okay. And, we got into this conversation before with karma, and I understand, some people have, dysfunctional families that don't work out that way. And I'm sorry for that. I know that it is true, but that's generally not the way it works. In regular families that don't have that kind of situation going on, that's the way grandparents are when it comes to their grandkids. And I just don't think kids are aware of that. And now I can see, like I said, in my past, where my grandparents were like that with me, but I was just too young to see it. You know, um, they had a lot of love for me, and I just was too young to notice it. So now I'm able to see it because I'm actually in this situation. So that's all I got to say.
Mm. I think it's fascinating. I didn't know when I suggested, like, we talk about sort of what our legacy was or what our duty was towards the younger people. I sort of suggested it not because I had any idea of it, because I had no idea of what the answer would be. But it seems like during this conversation, we've sort of arrived almost at the conclusion that it is about positivity and spirituality and being connected to the source. And that maybe that's the thing that's gone out of the world. And maybe that is what we're being called to do now, our generation, is to stand up and bring it back and start talking about it and start saying, look what's happened because we've wandered away. Let's return. Let's go back to these ideas of life and love and respect and duty and honor and goodness that we have allowed to diminish. I mean, it's under our watch that churches have closed down. So maybe we can do something to. I mean, and I'm not saying that Christianity is the answer. I'm just saying that it used to be everything about Christianity. Christianity sort of fell out of favor because it couldn't answer people's needs, but nothing else has come up in its place. And maybe, John, that you're sort of at the cutting edge of the new way of thinking, and that's why you're suddenly so busy.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I know that the videos that I make are for is to reach people who are maybe antisocial, because I'm putting them on media where they look at other stuff and they might see something of mine and they might think, oh, and awaken something in them. I don't know. I definitely feel I'm being guided for that reason to do what I do. Um, as far as the other side of it, I don't know what's going on there, but I just know something's happening. I just don't know what. I haven't found the answer to it yet. What is actually happening? But it's just great. It's just the last few days, everything's been suddenly like this. This happened like on Saturday. I spoke to a lady who I interviewed about the cleansing, how important it was about cleansing everything, even your down to your social media, even your Wi-Fi connection. Cleanses everything, spiritually cleanses everything, which I never thought about ever doing in my life. I've never even thought of it. She explained all to me all about it. Then I found out. Then I discovered. It's just the last 3 days that I've started to access some parts of my previous lives, and it's just like 3 days. This is all going on. What is going on? I said to the person yesterday I was talking about it, what's going to happen tomorrow? Am I going to find out Santa's real tomorrow? What's is going on? It's just crazy. It's great, but it's like, whoa, It's just, yeah. As I had like a vision the other day when I saw something white on my solar plexus, and it had scales on it, and it freaked me out. It wasn't horrifying, I just didn't know what it was. And a lady I interviewed yesterday said to me, she said, I got dragon cards. She said, I had them on my table. I went upstairs, came down, there was one on the floor. So I picked the card up and said, is this for me or for John? Because she knew I was going to be talking to her. And she had the message, it was for me. So she told me what the card was. I can't remember what it was. But it was to do with grounding and stuff like that. And then it happened again. She went in another room, came out. Another card is on the floor. She picked it up, asked her again. Was it for me or for John? They said, for John. The second card was a soul dragon. And this was the day after I had that vision. And she said to me, what this means, the soul dragon contains all the knowledge you accumulated through all your past lives. It contains it all. And that is just telling me you've got access to it. And I said, the funny thing was, only yesterday I got revealed something about my past life. And she said, well, there we are. She said, and I told her about what I saw, all linked together. That's why I asked on Minds about Mr. Overy, and knew what a soul dragon was. So I'm frightened to ask her anything else. But I didn't even ask it in the first place anyway. I just got shown it. Somebody that I know quite well. I was shown that this person that I was related to in a past life. I'm not going to say any more than that in public because I can't. There's different reasons. Yeah, so I say I have gone off topic now. Sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, but that happened. It's all happened in the last few days. So it's like everything's knocked up a gear, and then something went wrong now with the water and stuff. So it brought me down to earth, but actually it was good because it kept me grounded, kept me balanced. I think because everything was like, especially with the healing, I just thought, what is going on? I was actually driving my car on Monday, and I actually, spiritually, as I was driving the car, I could see Roger's essence in front of me, and I even questioned it. Why am I going here? Why am I going near Roger? What's going on? And I didn't actually see Roger's essence. I didn't see it, but I felt it, and I know that it's special. There's something really special about Roger's core being. I don't know what, but I know that it is. I could tell by the way I felt, the emotions I felt, and I didn't even know why it happened. I wasn't planning it. I wasn't like focusing on any. I was just driving my car, and then the next thing I saw my energy like go into someone to in America who was ill, went from Roger straight to someone else. And then I saw it going like around the planet, and I thought, what is going on? What does this mean? And I still don't know the answer, but it's like really like, it's just I want to know the answer because it's like compelling me. What is going on?
You've also got to take into consideration like we've been hooking up here on Jitsi. You're from Wales, Bobdub's from New Zealand. We've been talking to people from India. We've been talking to people from Australia, from London, from Scotland.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, we've got Canadians even on here. That's pretty bad, so it's, I mean, we're really reaching out to a lot of people if you stop and think about it, and it's on a world scale. I mean, we finally got Vince on here too. And
I actually I emailed Vince. He emailed me. I replied to him, and I read no more. It's ended there. So I don't know.
Oh no! I'll get onto him and ask him because he sent me a message saying, "I've just emailed John. I'm so keen. He's going to get back to me." So
I did email him, but no more. I also emailed. Is it Rush of Waves? Is it Rush of Waves?
Yes, right.
I found his email on the Minds profile. I emailed him and nope, zilch again.
And nothing.
So nothing.
Those boys. I'll have to get onto them and have a word.
Okay, so we've got 1 minute left, and before we go, I want to ask a request from you, Bobdub, on a later episode. And what it is that post that you made that I said I liked the reading to about the feminine and the masculine.
Yes.
Is there a way I can get you to read that at some other time to where we could actually share that with the stream? Because I think that would be awesome. And you're great at reading stuff. So you're probably better at it than all of us put together, to be honest.
Wow. What a lovely thing to say.
I'm
Thank you.
pretty sure John will agree with me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
whenever you did that interview and you read that story, I mean, that just blew every one of us out of the water, man. Believe it or not, it did. You did a really good job with that.
Wow.
So,
Thank you so much.
but
Well, I would love to. That would be great.
okay. And
Thank
we can set it up to where maybe at the beginning of one of these episodes, she could do it if you want to, John.
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. So good, yeah.
It's not really that long. Like it'll probably maybe a
you.
2 minute read,
Yeah,
maybe. So,
Well, I'll give it a read and I'll time it, and then I can let you know exactly.
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So
Wow, lovely.
we've come to 1 hour and 45 seconds
Oh
in
God.
recording time. In stream time, it's 1 hour and 16 minutes and 53 seconds. So we did another good episode.
Yeah. Sorry if I went off target. It's just
No, that's you.
No?
That's see when you do that, that's what an interviewer wants. They want to be able to ask you the questions so that it triggers more questions and it
yeah,
brings out something else to discuss. You know,
yeah.
so I did my job very well. I was able to create a reaction,
Hmm.
and you expressed yourself beautifully. So you did good.
Yeah, I need to watch his interviews back because I think after I say, what did I say? Did I say that? I just don't get a chance to watch them. It's just crazy. Just do not get a chance
And
to watch them after. It's really, there
Yeah.
we go.
so you guys want to say bye, and we can end this and get on with the day.
Yeah.
Okay. I will see you
Well,
guys later.
Yeah.
thank you. That was fun. Thank you very much indeed, guys. It was awesome. And yeah, back next week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye bye,
Sounds
everyone.
great. See you later.
Bye.